Carter, the power, Bryant. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
Still recovering from yesterday, but still eternally grateful. The only time, and my wife filmed it, and we have like a dog camera, and I forgot that was on. I can't stand walking in runs. That dude, there is nothing with the bases loaded. There is nothing that drives me crazier than a walked in run. And I went on, and normally in baseball I'm a little bit more relaxed, but I couldn't do that. I felt that was worse than anything that happened last night. But it's good to be with you, and I'm very happy. Not that the season ended, but I'm happy that the LSU baseball team was able to turn things around and make it a reasonable year.
Yeah, very reasonable. I mean, look, man, you played two top four teams in the country and you lost the crucial games by one run. You have a young team, very young core and nucleus. Look, I mean, does it sting? Does it hurt? Do I even think that you're better than North Carolina? Yeah, actually, I do. But I think that what happens and what we don't measure in sports, football related too, is how much experience plays. Like experience plays. Carter, they substituted 3 pitchers and 2 guys in the field. All 5 of them were seniors. Every one of them.
That was crazy when I heard that on the broadcast. They were like, "Oh, this senior was like replaced, and here he is pitching a pitch, like one pitch or whatever." That was insane that those guys bought in.
Carter, that's what you did last year. Think about. I mean, Blake Money was a freshman. What, 2 years? I mean, he was a junior, but he was an experienced guy. Riley Cooper. I mean, Gavin Duga, Braden Jobert, Kay Beloso. I mean, those guys literally could have been working at Wells Fargo, but they were playing college baseball.
I love it, man.
They could have been. I mean, Gavin Dugas with his hair parted the way it does. I mean, the dude could have had $1 million hedge fund, a $40 million hedge fund, but he was playing college baseball. You know, I mean, like he looks like a guy that runs a hedge fund. And I think what we have not yet talked about, and it's the least thing talked about the most, is not only in baseball, but how much experience is played in the big 3: basketball, baseball, and football. That is how, when teams have had success, LSU winning the West, they got 5 seniors or 4 seniors in their defensive back room, and it was the best that it's been arguably since 2018. Why does that happen? Experience.
Yeah, I'm with you, Blake. For a football thing, if you look, the fewer amount of draft picks LSU had oftentimes coincided the next year with the national championships. And it's because it's not that LSU has fewer draft eligible guys. It's just there are guys that are good enough to be drafted that decide to come back. And those sacrifices are so important for you to win national championships. I will say, and this will be my boldest take, because, of course, I like football way more than I like baseball. I just do. But LSU postseason baseball
is the most intense sport that we have.
Right. And it is the most enthralling. Like, there is so much shit I've seen in LSU baseball games that I have never seen in other games. Right? Like the insanity of the South Carolina balk or the block in the plate or whatever. And then
the Tommy Tanks bunt thing last night.
Dude, I have never. And the thing for that to be totally ridiculous is it had to have been on 2 strikes. So
because if you bunt on a 3rd strike and it's foul, you're out.
Yes, and the fact that thing rolled, it was like it was the same dramatics of a Plinko chip on Price is Right. You're just waiting to see what the result was, fair or foul, and it was a milli-inch of touching the base.
The awareness.
It was excellent. You were doing your diatribe there about Tommy. That dude, LSU baseball is just unlike anything on the planet. Unlike anything.
I will tell you this: the sport is continuing to grow, but there is nothing more intense than postseason baseball. Like last night, you know, Oklahoma. It was 11:30 at night. I was still up watching Oklahoma and UConn. Oklahoma's down 7, bases loaded, no outs. And the dude is in the 3-0 count. And the dude's hitting 396 for Oklahoma. And it's a soft dribbler to short and 6-4-3 double play. But then they come right back and hit a line drive off the wall that they called foul. I mean, it's just, look, I really do believe this. Postseason baseball is taking another level, man. I mean, and look, the portal is helping that. And look, what I hated more than anything is that the way that you battle, man, you can't ask for anything more, because I love a team that has that dog in them. It just, they weren't as, I don't want to say they weren't as talented as North Carolina. They just didn't have the experience. And
I agree. Yeah.
And that's what's gonna play here. So look, I think there's a silver lining in all of this. The silver lining being that Jay Johnson is a freaking psychopath. Okay. And I mean that in a good way. And I would, if he was sitting right here, I'd tell him he's a psychopath. But I mean that with all due respect. He is the most intense recruiter on this campus, more than Kim. Kim lets her, she delegates it to her staff. Jay Johnson will be on a plane tomorrow. If a kid in Atlanta went in the portal tomorrow, Jay Johnson would crawl on glass for an elite dude in the portal.
Good. And I like the fact that it was such a pain. It's better to lose painfully in baseball, because it just makes you say,
I'd rather have gotten blown out.
Well, I'll say this from a coach's perspective. I think if you lose a close game, you're just thinking in the back of your mind, man, if I just had one more athlete, if I just had that one kid.
You know what's ironic? I went on your when did I go on your show?
You went on last night, but you've been on a few times. Yeah.
I went on your show last night.
Yeah.
No, it was 2 nights ago.
Or whenever the game was.
Yeah, it was when LSU, it was Sunday. And you know what's ironic? You said that LSU was going to win 5-4 on a walk-off. You remember that? You said they're going to win 5-4 in a walk-off. They lost 4-3 and almost had a walk-off. If you would have guessed that, I was going to clip it and make you a superstar.
But Blake, I'm already a superstar, man.
True. I literally would have asked you for lottery ticket numbers.
Yeah. Look, I will tell you this. As much as I think a walk-off would have been fitting, LSU baseball, like I said, just doing all this stuff. And I understand that, and I'm talking about Jake Brown tonight and the Malik Neighbors career arc and all that. But you never see dropped fly balls like that. I mean, it is pure.
Dave Van Horn in Arkansas say hello.
True. That was, and what makes that one even more painful was like that was just a foul ball, right? Like it was just like, oh my God, we got to just keep throwing to the same batter. But that's the thing, and something else about SEC baseball is all these schools just have very interesting like narratives, right? Everyone's waiting to see if Tennessee can finally do it. Florida's always got the superstar alien talent, and then Arkansas is always a choking school. South Carolina, a lot of success, but they're kind of mid now. I just love the narratives around it, especially during these postseason runs. And the one thing, and I sent you this video earlier today. So on Power Hour NFL, I spent a week doing research on Joe Burrow and his NFL career and how he changed everything in the NFL, how we perceive the sport. One thing I will say is the college baseball postseason being played on campuses is so cool. It is so cool.
Electric.
It's unlike anything else, right? Because like you're having the highest leverage games outside of games being played in Omaha, Nebraska, being played at the home of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers or the East Carolina Pirates. It's
who also blew it yet again.
Yeah, they blew it again. The Pirates blew it again. Shout out to Slade Roy. But truth be told, it is it is electric. And this comes from someone that's not a huge baseball guy. It is the best postseason we have in all of sports.
I 100% agree. And not only that, the SEC is, from a baseball perspective, it makes football and basketball and any other conference or like in any other sport looks like a dumbass. Like,
in terms of like depth.
Like, think about this. LSU might have been the 9th best team in the conference.
Yeah, they probably were. If you factor in like regular season.
I know that they were. Yeah. That is think about that.
And this is my thing. All right. So you and I have gotten into a baseball debate about this. Mm-hmm. I think the pitch clock has changed my opinion on 7-inning games versus 9-inning games. One thing that I have always been.
Yeah, last night was 3 hours and 3 minutes.
That's so fast. That's great.
And it's an extra inning game. Right. And there was a lot of pitching changes. So, I mean, the first one was 2 hours and I think 47 minutes.
High leverage and longer chaotic plays and all of that. Once again, I still can't get over that damn foul ball or that bunt. I still can't get over.
I wish last night would have been 7 innings.
Right.
You would have won.
Yeah. But what I would also say about college baseball is, I saw a lot of your super chatters talking about like the changes coming to it. It would be very interesting if the scholarship limits increase. Okay.
All right.
Which it should. I am very.
You're getting on an interesting topic here that Jay has not been asked because people have not. Carter, let's go here. Let me set a scene for you to get in here because people don't know where you're about to go, but we got to set a precedent here.
Yeah.
The NCAA versus House case just got settled, which scholarships could be lifted because of NIL and TV revenue. If that happens in baseball, LSU is going on a dynasty run like their name's Bear Bryant.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be close.
It really will not.
Yeah.
Because the TV revenue money that they would generate would be insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to continue your point there.
So I remember I talked to Paul Minieri about this for an hour way back when. And he told me, Carter, I hate scholarship limits. And if you're an LSU fan, you should hate it, right? It is the craziest thing that I know in sports, that a baseball team could only have 11.7 total scholarship players. So for those that don't know, that's total. That's like not every year.
Out of a 25-man roster.
Right. And you have to have what? Minimum 20 good players to win an Addy. Minimum.
Oh.
Like 20 decent, and you need.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
And you need at least 6 stars, like superstar level players, and you only have 11.7. So they divvy up the scholarships to help, and obviously NIL has helped smooth things out, and all of that. But what could happen, and one number that I've heard, Blake, and I know I say I'm not the big college baseball guy, but I've always been really passionate about this because it's so dumb that, let's say a sport like basketball, they have 13 scholarships, and the scales aren't the same, right? Basketball, you need a 7 to 8 person rotation. College baseball, like you said, you need minimum 20 good players to win it all. You only have 11.7 total. I've heard that number 20 thrown out as a potential.
That'd be a massive increase.
Yeah, that's the number that I've heard. And
I around the country do not like you saying that.
They don't because it costs money. It's more money that you have to pay as a school.
Well, what I mean is that the guy that you're borderline on in baseball, you can take and get a scholarship for him and develop him.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, if you go in the portal and you really spend a lot of time recruiting a guy and he does not pan out in football, so be it. You got other guys. In baseball, if you spend that's why like these guys that go to the MLB draft really can sink your roster. Like college baseball recruiting, like you were talking about Jay Johnson, is such a different beast. It's so much harder to me than football recruiting. And football recruiting, as you know, is very hard. Baseball recruiting it's really, really, really damn hard.
And not only that, man, I don't think people understand the money that's getting thrown around in baseball. I really don't think people understand it.
Oh, so the NIL is flowing, baby.
Oh, Oh God, yeah.
Yo,
Because
let's
let me tell you
go.
why. Because these guys are allowed to have agents more than in football. And what happens is, I'm going to use an LSU centric thing. And I'm not saying that this is happening, but I'm going to use it for an analogy. Dylan Cruz is sponsored by Marucci. So when Marucci sees a guy like Dylan Cruz or Griffin or Connor Griffin, which he's not coming here, but just for argument's sake, coming, they're going to sign a multi-year deal with him. They're going to sponsor the shit out of him. And nobody in college baseball has Marucci like that. Not like
Jack,
that.
okay. So Jack Marucci bats. Okay.
Well, yeah, Marucci. I mean, Jack's not a part of it anymore. They sold it all. But I mean,
that's right. Okay.
But yes. So I don't think like Brady Montgomery at Texas A&M, the superstar at Texas A&M, Carter, people's jaw would drop if they knew how much money he got and what he was telling them. Yeah, because he has an agent, Scott Boras. So I mean, like,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so like you're gonna get and look, you got to have really good relationships with these agents because guys are allowed to have them through in baseball throughout because of you could be drafted in high school, right? And you can continue to have that connectivity with them. So I think that there's a lot in that. What I would say is I do think 20, like if you went to 20 next year, I think it's too much. I think you need to like go 15 then 17.
Right.
You know, like I don't think you can just drop 20 because if you do that, mid-major programs are going to absolutely get abused.
Yeah.
And you need, you know, like every one of them. So what I would say in the last thing about baseball, because we got a lot of football we need to talk to, and I'm coming on your show at what time? 8:45.
Yeah, I got a show at 8:15. Let me say one quick thing about the baseball thing because I did bring it up. The 11.7 going to 20, like you said, astutely said, helps LSU. It helps Arkansas. It helps the schools that actually.
Yeah, Arkansas would actually be able to have somebody that can hit.
Right, like it. Schools that produce a lot of money, or they produce some money playing.
Yeah,
playing
John.
baseball.
You think John Tyson going to sit up there in his basketball shorts and continue to lose?
No, but I kind of, as much as I've been a proponent of it increasing, and as much as it helps me, I don't know how much I want it to change because it's what makes the sport so damn competitive. Baseball inherently, I mean, you played the game, Blake, at a high level. It's hard to just go out and out athlete a baseball team like you can in football or whatever, or basketball or whatever. Baseball is already inherently an even upsetty kind of sport. Then you factor in the rosters. You know, if you double the amount of scholarships, which you're almost doing, that's taking away a full roster of potentially a Conference USA team.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll go that high, but I see your point. Right.
I've just heard that number being thrown out there, but I kind of don't want it to change, even though it does help the athlete, because these postseason games are so damn good, man. I swear that North Carolina Long Island game, dude, was like one of the most insane games I have ever freaking seen.
Dude, we had 8 walk-offs. We had 8 walk-offs in the first 12 hours of regional play.
Unreal. Like, it doesn't even make sense. That is not.
That's like somebody throwing a touchdown at the end of the game to win it.
Yes, like all the like Hail Marys and all that. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And what's crazy is it. And trust me, once again, college football over college baseball any day of the week. College football is not like that. It is a shit ton of blowouts. It is blowout city. All the best teams.
Right.
Yeah, they have, Blake, annually 2 or 3 games that has a single-digit point spread, the Ohio States and all of that. Like, baseball is not like that. That's why, like, you know, LSU baseball had so much freaking talent last year. You still got to grind out every victory. Like, Paul Skeens can't go out there and win every game for you, Dylan Cruz and all that stuff. But it's what makes the sport great. And that's why you do such a great job covering it, because you understand all these complexities.
Oh, well, some people don't think I do, but you know,
you do it, man.
All right. Let's transition to football very quickly. I don't want to spend much time on this, but it's newsworthy. Wilson Alexander reporting that LSU academically is back in good standard. I think that's a big deal.
Oh, it's a huge deal. And there's really like not a whole lot you could do, like breaking all of that down.
Yeah, basically, in essence, you're back in good academic standard, more than you ever been.
Right. And Brian Kelly coming over from Notre Dame, you would like to think that was going to happen, and also give a lot of credit to the players and a lot of the like tutors and mentors. His name slips my mind. Coach DF. What's his last name? DF.
Arnold.
Arnold. Yes, like people like those guys. A lot of that's just a good job by all of them to get kids to class and just get the job done. Because look, it was crazy. I saw Ohio State had one of the highest metrics in that, so that's pretty insane to me. But
yeah,
honestly,
Quincy Judkins going to basket weaving and tennis for one semester to get him through.
Yes. So yeah, that is really good news.
Let's transition. Look, we're gonna have a lot of time to get on the field. I don't think it's the time to get there, but LSU had a really big recruiting weekend. They had a lot of receivers on campus. I think that you're pretty high on Khalid Lockett.
Yeah.
But what has kind of taken precedent here is how Bo Davis has started to get things, and Brad Davis has started to get some things rolling on both of those lines of scrimmage. What your thoughts on what LSU's been doing in recruiting on the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the Florida State kid other than he's a 5-star offensive lineman.
Yes, Solomon Thomas.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. I will be honest, Blake. Today was the first day I sat down and watched all these guys. I was texting you what I was thinking. And one guy that really stood out to me was Brandon Brown. He really, really, really impressed me. Very heavy hands, but really fires off the football, plays hard, unbelievably athletic. And, when I'm watching a high school defensive lineman, yes, it's hard because the offensive lineman will be selling insurance here in 10 years, right?
Yeah, they got boxer briefs underneath their pants. They don't even have the right athletic gear. Everybody knows that white guy that wore athletic boxer or non-athletic boxer briefs underneath their football pants.
Right. But like his pad level was pretty good. I mean, I like seeing heads get jacked backwards. And he was doing that a lot and from a lot of different techniques and alignments. And he's just very, very, very heavy-handed. Yeah, and I like to see that.
Sorry. The Texas commit who committed while Bo Davis was still the D-line coach there. Not only him, I think Zion Williams is an interesting case and some others. Carter, if they're able to start putting some pieces together in high school recruiting at that position, even though you did miss in the portal, and I think that you got a long way to go and you got a lot of things that you got to figure out there. And I mean that, like a long way to go, and you got to start getting some things back into the right direction. It's good to see that the dividends of what you're bringing in is paying off. Now, the thing with Bo is a lot of people have questioned, well, he's not going after the stars. Well, you can't people complain that Orgeron star chased, and this guy is apparently, to what you talked about with Brown, identifying somebody that might be flying under the radar, even though he's a 4-star.
Yeah, I really do think he's good. Like I grade defensive lineman a little bit harder because that was the position that I played, and man, it was very, very, very impressive. And Blake, just really quickly, I would not be shocked if, and I predicted this last year, I said Cam Coleman will be a top 5 player nationally, and he ended up shooting up the rankings, and we weren't really able to get in. We were able to get him on campus. The same thing might happen with Khalid Lockett. Like, he really blew me away today when I watched him. Looked a lot like T. Higgins in his high school tape. And, man, he's good. Khalid, if you're watching this, you're a dude, man. And, of course, I've watched French and I've watched Pickett. I'm excited about Shanklin, the Indiana player, defensive end. But, man.
Yeah, I want to go there next.
Yeah, Khalid Lockett really really floored me today with his body control, yards after the catch, just total domination. And it didn't look like he was having the absolute best quarterback play. Man, I like seeing players dominate when they are not in the absolute best environment for him to succeed. And could you imagine him with Bryce Underwood filling in the void that was left by DeCorian Moore, who might be back in the fray? We'll see what happens. But Lockett is good. He is really freaking good at football.
So I'm going to be very, very, very careful, even though I was petty the other night. I'm going to be careful how I say this. I was asked 2 weeks ago not to share that he was going to be on a visit this weekend. Then, unfortunately, their wishes were not met. I'm going to leave it there.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, very interesting.
Okay.
I would not be surprised if he's here this weekend. I would not be surprised if things in that relationship got a lot better. I will tell you this. I don't know if the kid's coming here. Okay, I don't know if he's going to recommit. I don't know if he's coming here. I legitimately don't. However, I think if money were not an object and everybody paid the same exact thing, this would be the place that he wants to go. And I think I'll leave it at that. So
that's powerful.
Yes. Now, let's see what happens this weekend. I think that he's being pulled in a lot of different directions, which worries me for him.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is they have a lot of receivers that are on campus, and Justin Jefferson just got massively paid.
Yeah, and that's way more than any NIL deal that'll ever be dealt.
Can't be short-sighted, man. You can't. That's what I've been saying. You can't be short-sighted. And look, man, I'm going to say this. I know you love Jamar Chase. I do too. Justin Jefferson's the best wide. I've said this multiple times on this show. Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver that we've ever had. Fight me.
Oh, wait, you're saying like
Fight
Are you factoring in the professional career, or are you just
Yes.
Okay, well then I could live with that.
Even Carter, I think he was more dynamic even at LSU than Jamar Chase.
Oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know about that.
I mean, he had 3 years of more production, more than what Chase did in one. Like, we can't forget 18. You can't. You cannot forget about 2018. I mean, Carter, what he did against UCF when things started to get rolling with him and Burrow was insanity.
Yeah, no, you are right. If you factor in the entire career,
and yes, you have to, you have to. And I know that you love Malik Neighbors, brother. Justin Jefferson's 6'2". He's bigger, stronger, and I can't say he's faster because Malik ran a 4.35. But I think he's the best receiver we've ever had here.
Well, Jefferson's 40 was around that as well. So
you know what it was? Look, Oklahoma fans will remember. How crazy is it that 2 months before he ran a 40 at the combine, he was doing this, and that GIF left. You know that was still one of the highest tweets I ever had. I said, "Guess what? Justin Jefferson just ran," and it's the GIF of him doing this.
4-4. It's just creative. Yeah, so I think we factor in career, sure, right? It's because he gave you 2 years of production, and Jamar, of course, sat out his prime year, the year 3 year. When we're talking about peaks, like the absolute peak season of LSU wide receiver play, I would give Jamar Chase in 2019 the slightest nod. That
kid from Clemson ankles is still in the Superdome.
Right. And in that same game, Jamar Chase went 9 for 221, 2 TDs.
Okay. I don't remember one of those catches. Not one. I don't remember the one in the back of the end zone. I don't remember the one on AJ Terrell. I don't remember any of that. Fight me.
And he did drop one. He did drop one in the fourth quarter to Jamar Chase. So it should have been a bit more than that. So
he did. Let me move to this very quickly too. Damian Shanklin is a kid from Indianapolis that a lot of people think that even though he wasn't publicly committed to Notre Dame, that LSU just flipped him. Now, Carter, here's a kid, 6'4", around 230, 240, who, when Kevin People, from what I've heard, when Kevin Peoples got to talk to him, he's like, oh, shit. And the kid is very high on LSU. Let's see what happens there. You know, like, let's see if you get a commitment. Carter, this kid can play. He can play.
Yeah, I met him at the spring game. He was
I thought you talked about that.
Yeah, so I really didn't know anything about him, and I talked to him for, I think I still had we did like a little interview, and I was very impressed with his vision. And man, I agree with you. I think he's got a motor, man, and I'm
who
excited.
he reminds me of?
Let's hear it.
Of thicker paws, Arden Key.
And you're throwing out all you're throwing out all the GOAT names tonight.
All
man.
right, you ready for this? I pulled this up today.
Okay.
Hand size, same. Wingspan, same. Cone drill, same. I don't know if this 40 time is correct, but 40 time, same.
You're pulling out all the big.
I'm
names.
pulling out all the stops.
All the big names, and now you
Carter,
bring up the GOAT receivers.
Same height, same weight, same arm span, same hand size, same everything. What else am I supposed to do?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Like Arden Key was so good. Like he is so much.
Very fair.
He is so much better than every other LSU pass rusher that we've had over the past couple of decades. You know, he's that good. He was that complete of a player. Now, if he's half of that, that would mean he would be probably the best end if he was able to suit up this year for LSU. Like now,
I think he could be the steal of this class if you get him.
I hope so. I will tell you this. When I spoke to him briefly, he seemed very locked in on coming to LSU. So I am hoping for this. I do think it's interesting because he is from the north, and it goes outside your region. And Brian Kelly's been saying we're going to focus on our region, and obviously you make an exception for Bryce Underwood, who wouldn't, but
you better make an exception for this kid too.
So you think he's a real deal?
Okay, I might be a little bit hyperbolic, but they have a lot of the same measurables.
I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. Well, I will see you here in just a second on my show. If you don't tune into my